Folks, check it out. Today we are finally looking at the MVS from ModusWorks. This is in the Rapt family here. We've got the Rapt plates and then the asymmetrical body. This was a style that he released that I gotta say I wasn't particularly sold on, and so I never jumped on any of the pre-orders, but this is one of the more widely available versions of a Rapt. Takes the Rapt plates, but this body style was actually available, like I said, for a pre-order, and so a lot of people ended up with this one. So you'll still see this one for sale quite often in the secondhand groups, and generally going for about $300 to $350. So let's give it a listen, and then we'll talk a little bit about it and maybe compare it to some other sliders in the collection. Very cool. So I got to be honest, like I said, this body style was not for me. You've got this one concave side, as you can see there, and then one convex side that, you know, rounded on top, but it still has these divots for your thumbs. One of the things that I found that I really liked about this right out of the gate was if you flip it over up against itself, you get this kind of, I don't know, satisfying, you know, they fit within each other. Now, I doubt that he was machining it to do that, but I could really see this being incredibly satisfying if these top machining patterns were meant to interact with each other. Maybe it was a smooth top or something, I don't know. But getting this kind of play on the back, it's almost like the Wanwu riot shields that are magnetic sliders, but rounded. So you get this kind of interesting play. Wanwu only is rounded side to side, but this one's rounded top to bottom and side to side. So you get just a really interesting feel that way. I like that. That was kind of an unexpected thing for me. It's also kind of an interesting slider because you play with it this way, it feels one way. Switch to this and it's like playing with a completely different slider. Another thing I didn't expect. You know, generally I'm for symmetry, so this just didn't speak to me. It fits really nicely when you get your finger right there, and you can kind of get all these moves going with a really good grip. If you hold it this way, it's really good because it just kind of fits right into the cradle of your fingers to be able to do any around the worlds or anything like that really comfortably. So it's no joke. I mean, Jonas knew what he was doing when he made this, for sure. And now this one, shout out to Nicole for letting me borrow this because I have never reviewed this. Now, I have reviewed a modusworks piece before and a Rapt, but it's been a while. And also, you know, if you're looking for really quality Rapt content that's, you know, really going to give you an insight into the product and the creator, I'd implore you to check out Fidget Nerd, Zach over at Fidget Nerd, who really loves Rapts and really cherishes these things. Not that I don't, but he knows a hell of a lot more than I do. So let's take a look inside. Okay. Now, I did something special here because I tuned this for Nicole. You can see on top ModusWorks engraving that's kind of always been on it, the Rapts. Montbelez. I honestly don't know what that is, if that's a place or what significance that has to him. You could probably let me know. Now, what I did here for Nicole's was I put some smaller radius magnets in the middle. Okay, so these are 3mm by 1.5mm. Found those on Amazon. And then also got some 6x2. So she had 6x3 in here. So I did 6x2, and then I had some of these sound dampeners. You can use O-rings or whatever you'd like, and just swap those out. The other interesting thing was this acrylic magnet cage. It's unusual because most modusworks pieces that I've dealt with have had a magnet cage which is made up of 2 pieces so that you can flip and have the magnet sit closer to the corner, or flip it back in and have them sit closer inward. That changes the gameplay a little bit. This one is 1 piece, and they're kind of pushed inward. Now somehow, just in the function of this slider, it doesn't necessarily affect its ability to operate. So that is pretty cool. I'm sure he spent a lot of time kind of figuring out the optimum placement for those so that they would sit kind of perfectly in there. Now you can see that if you get on the corner, it's not going to, hang on since those magnets are attaching further inward. On this, I believe this is ZD EDC, if not Chi Nano or whatever that name is. You can see that these magnets are pushed all the way to the corners. So it helps for some of the tricks because those magnets stay attached. So no matter how hard I push it, even if it's going way out on the edge, it's staying attached. This one still operates really well. So now let's bring in kind of what I consider the heavy hitters in the slider game and compare them to the MVS. Overall, in terms of shape, size, it feels really compact. Now, to be honest, having seen this body style, I kind of thought it was going to be a little thicker than it ended up being when I got it. You've got the Ergo from Novel Carry. See it up against that. Up against the Ergo Boy from Fidget Boy. You've got the Kind Industries Swoop. Here's the Kuko Honeycomb. Magnus Radiator. All right, Fidget Things Slim SOB. Ultimately, I'm surprised by this one, and I honestly think I would enjoy having it in the collection. In terms of feel, while I like it, ultimately having tried everything else, I don't know that it necessarily, blew my hair back or anything like that. It is really nice. The machining is phenomenal. That is just gorgeous. And the shape is very unique. These feel phenomenal right here. You can see that how far in he took that kind of curved inset. He brought in really far, similar to the Swoop, but almost more defined to where that feels like kind of like a worry stone. And I think it's probably these high corners that help kind of give it that effect. But it leads all the way into the middle. And that just really feels phenomenal in a way that I didn't expect. The machining's beautiful. Now, is it the ultimate machining? I mean, this is also, I don't want to say like his budget piece. That would be the Rapt Light. But it is, a more mass-produced version. So we're not looking at like one of the Rapt exotics that he's created for somebody. But in terms of moves, you know, it's not doing anything that my other sliders aren't already tuned to do. And, you know, I think ultimately it comes down to the body style. The plates are great. The Rapt, you know, kind of did the swoosh plates first. I just think at this point, the plates and the magnet cage are, you know, kind of outdone by some of the other sliders. But in terms of the body style, the one thing that I was really kind of against turns out to be the thing that I like the most about it. So I think this is an absolute gorgeous, incredible feeling body. Ultimately, it plays and moves just like my other favorite sliders. But I don't think in a way that I really found to be earth-shattering. It really comes down to this shell. So there you go, folks. Very worthy slider. Now, if you're looking for something because you've heard of the ModusWorks plates and maybe they are going to change your life, I don't believe that anymore with the amount of variety in the slider market. But ModusWorks is still one of the kings of sliders, and this body is phenomenal and unlike one I've experienced before, so I definitely think it's worth it. There you go, folks. That is the MVS from ModusWorks. All right, check it out. For Unfocused, I'm recommending the book Famous by Blake Crouch. Now, I've recommended one of his books before. He did Dark Matter, which was an incredible sci-fi book. This one is definitely kind of a different vibe for him. It's adorned with one of my favorite bookmarks of all time, which my oldest made for me. 2017 for Father's Day. Look at that. He was 8. I thought that was hilarious. So this book is about a guy who just keeps being mistaken for this Hollywood star, this Oscar winner. And so he saves up money and leaves and goes to LA and eventually meets the famous star that he looks like. And it just turns into this absolute, like, almost like single white female type situation. So if you really like Hollywood and kind of behind the scenes stuff and thriller type thing, this is a great book. All right, enjoy.